Welcome to Watches with Dennis, and today I want to give my first thoughts on Timex's Marlin Sub-Dial Automatic. This recently revealed watch comes in 3 different options. They're actually 2 different dials. One is a black dial, and then 2 are silver dials, and the only difference on the silver dials is you can either go with a brown leather strap or a blue leather strap. So 3 of the same sort of watch. But let's go ahead and break down some of the technical specifications and aesthetics, and then I will give my opinions about what Timex is trying to do with these watches. Unlike the traditional Marlin watch, this has adopted a cushion case style and is stainless steel. It does offer Arabic numerals in all 12-hour positions. It does have a date window at the 3 o'clock position. It has a sub-dial at the 9 o'clock position, which represents the 24-hour format, and it uses a central seconds hand for the traditional timekeeping. The case itself is 39 millimeters in diameter. Timex's website does list the case height at 9 millimeters. That's actually very thin, and I'm not sure, given it specifies case height, that is including the crystal, which is made out of mineral glass. But the photos do make the crystal look somewhat domed, so I'm thinking that this watch is probably actually thicker than 9 millimeters when you factor that in. The watch has a lug width of 20 millimeters and offers 50 meters of water resistance. The silver dial with the blue strap has black hands for the hours, minutes, and seconds, and the silver dial with the brown strap has blued hands for the hours, minutes, and seconds. And both watches have the red hand for the 24-hour sub-dial. By comparison, the black-toned dial keeps the red hand for the 24-hour sub-dial, but the seconds, minutes, and hours are in white. The Marlin Automatic Sub-Dial is powered by the Miyota 8217. That is an automatic movement. It beats at 3 Hz and has approximately 42 hours of power reserve. As noted, all variants of this watch come with leather straps, and they do offer quick-release systems, so you can easily take those straps off and swap them with something else. All 3 versions of this watch are priced on Timex's website at $269 US. So what are my first thoughts on this watch? In terms of my opinions, I have a very mixed bag sort of set of feelings about it. The price point I think is reasonable. $270 is a bit high for what we would normally think of with Timex, but it's still very much in the affordable tier, and we are talking an automatic watch. Having mineral glass at this price point is not atypical or unusual, really. I don't think we're necessarily pushing up into where we would normally be with sapphire, so that's not a shocking compromise. The back of the watch, which I didn't talk about in the specifications, but it's a mostly closed case back. It's sort of screwed down case back, but it does have a display window with a red stripe in it, which gives you a view of at least part of the balance. I don't know why they did that. I think the Marlin closed case back look that takes up most of the rest of the back of the watch is preferable to a window into only part of the movement and not doing a full display case back. But again, we're talking about the back side of the watch, so I'm not going to get too focused on that. I don't care all that much one way or another. I just think it's very odd. I think the red stripe, which maybe is to bring some symmetry to the red sub-dial hand, doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense on the back. And in fact, when I saw all the photos of this initially, I thought it was a sticker. Talking about the front of the watch, I do like a lot of the look of the dial in either the black or the silver. I like both versions of that. I do like the cushion case back. I like the font choices in terms of the Arabic numerals. The words Timex, Automatic, and Marlin, I think, are all attractively done. I do not like the decision with the date window. I think the date window at the 3 o'clock is perfectly acceptable. I think it's reasonably framed, in fact, better than a lot of higher dollar watches that I have seen. It is just right up against that 3, though. And for me, it's pushing it a bit, especially when you look at the sub-dial at the 9 o'clock. There is more of a space between the edge of the sub-dial and the 9 than there is with the frame of the date window and the 3. It looks lopsided and not as balanced as it should be. I would have probably sacrificed the 3 outright if I had my say in the matter and moved the date window all the way over more, or move the date window further towards the center of the dial so that it was more specifically centered on where that sub-dial is. Granted, where this movement will allow them to place these hands and place that date window are obviously the limiting factors, but nonetheless, it makes it a little less clean of a design than if this was a time-only watch, which is something that I think a lot of people think of when it comes to the Marlin. Or in the case of Marlins that do have date functionality, I have often seen many of those not include numerals at all. And then with things like stick indices, I think it just looks a lot better, at least in terms of less risk to balance. The 9 o'clock sub-dial for the 24-hour hand itself, actually, I like quite a bit. I think it's an attractively done sub-dial. The only issue is that I have with it, it's sort of a pointless sub-dial. I don't see the value in having a 24-hour hand in a sub-dial. I don't see much of a value in a 24-hour hand unless you've got GMT functionality with the watch, which this watch does not say that it has. So I say, what's the point? We could imagine it taking a page out of, say, the original purpose of Rolex's Explorer 2 and say it's to help you know day versus night in conditions where you can't otherwise know, in the case of the Explorer 2 for spelunking purposes or cave exploration. But in this watch's instance, I don't see any lume on that 24-hour hand, so you wouldn't be able to read it in the dark anyway. And so overall, this is why I'm mixed on the watch. I do think a lot of the aesthetics are nice. I like the cushion case. I like the sort of classic casual throwback look to it. As I noted, I like all the fonts. I like the layout and the configuration of the indices with the Arabic numerals. The hands are good. The strap choices, whether or not they're comfortable, remains to be seen, of course, but I do like the look of it overall. But the contrast between the date wheel and the sub-dial, the somewhat odd decision to have a partial display case back, and the total impracticality to a 24-hour hand sub-dial would mean this isn't a watch I would be inclined to buy, even at the relatively acceptable price point that it comes in at. If I were to redesign this watch, I would sacrifice the date wheel outright. I would convert the sub-dial, keeping it in the same 9 o'clock position, because I do think that's cool and different, into a small seconds feature, get rid of the central seconds hand, and just have it be time only with that oddly placed sort of asymmetrical sub-seconds placement. I think it would still look unique, but it wouldn't be so off-putting in the minor ways that are sort of triggering me as I look at this. But these are my first thoughts. I'd love to know yours. Please comment below on what you think of the Timex Marlin Sub-Dial Automatic. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a like. It helps the channel out. And if you'd like to be notified of new videos, just click that subscribe button. And otherwise, I will talk to you all on the next one. Take care, everybody.